Hello and welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast. I am your host, Andy Asimakis, and joining me this week, it's a good one, I feel. It's going to be a good one, is Stu Tilley, game director over at Firesprite and developer of The Persistence, a terrifying survival horror roguelike set in the cold, unforgiving depths of space. Stu, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Andy. It's really cool to be here, and looking forward to it. Talking about the game plus plenty of cool stuff about video games generally, with any luck.
Oh, of course. Sci-fi and roguelikes are on my mind a lot lately after Returnal came out, and you guys already we've done that already. This isn't new. What makes that game so special?
I mean, Returnal's brilliant though, right? I mean, I think it's like roguelikes and sci-fi is cool. I mean, generally, I've already drunk the Kool-Aid on that one. I think that Housemarque have just smashed it. I think with the core controls and the combat and the enemy design and the bullets and the upgrades. It's just it's a super amazing job that they've done.
I think I was already sold on haptics with Astrobot, and then when Returnal came out, I was like, "This is the way of the future."
The little half press,
This is how we're gonna go. This is it for us. So I usually kick things off on the show with a fun icebreaker. Either I comb through some tweet history and pull up some funny things to talk about, or just
why am I terrified?
Just to set the mood. But actually, I want you to respond to something. It was a tweet, not one of yours, so don't worry about it. It was a tweet that went viral a few months ago that got the likes of Event Horizon trending on Twitter and Jason X. And that tweet was that horror cannot be set in space.
Yeah.
So me saying that, what is your response to that statement?
Well, I reckon some people on Twitter maybe talk a load of shit. It's perhaps just the direct answer. Like Event Horizon has got to be one of the best movies ever made. You've got Alien, right? You've got who knows, it's just never ending. For me, it's like horror and sci-fi. The vast coldness of space, the loneliness is perfect for horror. So I would say I would not be in a line with that comment. I would say if I was some sort of British politician, I'd find some nicer way than to say it. But no, absolute nonsense, I think.
Right. And the argument was that science fiction is a whole other genre into itself. So you can't. Alien would be a science fiction movie and not a horror film, and that would be, as you would say, a bunch of bollocks, I would imagine.
A bunch of it's bollocks. Yes, I would say they've angled a technicality our way on that, and basically we're not having it. I would say it's that concept is firmly rejected from the English jury.
It doesn't get more official than that. I feel you could speak more of this than most people, and that's because of The Persistence. So speaking about horror and space and science fiction, what is The Persistence, and where this idea of a roguelike science fiction game set on a ship floating through space come from?
It's a bit of a mad one. It's like me and a guy I used to work with at Sony, he ran the studio, and now he's our managing director at Firesprite. We always said, we had this thing from maybe 15, 20 years ago, where we said, one day we're going to make a really scary game. That was kind of the thing. When we were having we're out drinking or talking about what cool games we wanted to make, it was always like, what are we going to do for our scary game? And this was even back when we were making Wipeout games for the Vita, right? Which is obviously, the Vita is amazing, which is a kind of a side thing.
It is. It really is. It is.
Yeah. So that was the seed. We'd always talked about it, and then it was our aspiration to make a scary game. And then when we were at Firesprite, we were kind of like, we can make games we want to make. It's up to us what we do here. So so that's where it came about, and we created a few different pitches, if you like, little one-page ideas for what we could do, and then we were just talking about the sense of kind of how being lonely on a ship was like, when the felt that no rescue was coming, could be a really good setup. You know, how the fact that sci-fi and horror are such fucking good bedmates, you know, that they that seems like the perfect pairing. So that was like in its, at least its really early conception, I suppose. And then we went through there. And it was also the time when VR was just about starting to spin up as something that was kind of could be really big. And so that was kind of our opportunity, I suppose, if you like. We thought that it could be, obviously horror and VR is a really good setting as well, because you know, it's just so immersive to do that. So that was kind of like, we knew we would start positioning that way. We think, yeah, we could make it a VR game, it'd be really cool. And then it's like, there's loads of really good games out there in the horror space. So like, we were trying to figure in, you know, how can we make our game interesting and different for people. So that's kind of where we ended up, like, we're trying to design like a really complex and you know, procedural generation system for like full 3D locations, and then how we thought we could wrap the game in a bit of a roguelike. And I think we were kind of lucky in the sense that, like, I mean, obviously we weren't the first of that, but you know, we were relatively early in the resurgence, if you like, of rogues. Like ours is quite a light game, I think, in that sense. Right. So we kind of put all these elements together, and I had these like loads of crazy ideas for like enemy types and things that could happen. And we made some really lovely concept art of some of the characters and some of the mutations that could on, and there was like and when we put it all together, like we knew, like, some of our friends in other studios and people in the studio were like, hold on, this could be really cool. This seems like it's got a load of the ingredients that are going to live really well together. So we pulled together, like, honestly, it was terrible, like a little prototype of like the procedural generation of how the game might work and how the locations might work and the combat might work. And the character was basically a pink vertical blob with little stubby pink blobby arms. Who didn't animate, who just chased you around. And it was kind of terrifying in its own way, actually.
It sounds horrifying, yeah.
Yeah. In the dark. But it was, so we kind of thought, you know, I felt like, at least in the core mechanics, in the core feel, we thought we've got something that's gonna be fun to play. But yeah, how we wrapped it all together is like, it was like, I suppose it was like 10 or 15 years in the making, just thinking about how stuff may come together and stuff that we love. But it's also like, I mean, I know it's pretty common in video game people, we're all kind of sci-fi geeks, right? We read all the same books and watch the same movies, and
there's an overlap for sure.
Yeah. So it's like, it would be the coolest thing. And then for me to be involved in pitching that game, you know, everyone agreeing to make it and then getting to direct it, it was kind of like proper kid in a sweet shop situation. You know, it's like, life's not getting any better, you know, than doing that.
Yeah, I can imagine you guys just having this idea for your big horror game. It's like, all right, guys, get back to work on Run Sackboy Run. We gotta get that one out the door first.
That was basically it, and it was the same team that rolled through from Run Sackboy Run to the Persistence, which is a bit of a step change, you know.
Right.
But yeah, and as we grew that team, but yeah, that's how it was. It was definitely like a different vibe, but it was get this game done, and then we move on to the big shiny exciting new thing, I suppose. You know, like new games are always kind of exciting in them early days, right? You kind of dreaming big. But yeah, it was tough. You know, one of the advantages of doing a roguelike for us as well is it allowed us to create lots of gameplay time and variety without the need to to then build too many like different locations, which can take a lot of time and you know, investment and stuff. It meant that we managed to like create a full-size game essentially, depending on how good you are actually, you know, within relatively sensible amount of time. It's still best part of 3 years in the end, I suppose. But yeah, building the worlds that way was really good. Like the amount of iteration we took on like making, sometimes it, like the procedural generation, make these crazy shapes for the rooms. It just didn't feel right at all, and there was too many enemies in, and the frame rate would tank, or all sorts of things could go wrong. So yeah, we did some. It was a tricky journey getting there, making sure staying up frame rate on base PS4, right? On
Yeah.
VR's no small matter. And one of our aspirations was to feel like a handcrafted game in a procedural generated world. So we ended up doing all sorts of clever stuff, like a brand new lighting system we wrote that plugged in. Then it's really limited and it only works on really narrow height areas, but it's super fast and allows us to get all that mood that we need and all the cool reflections as well. So we ended up having to fight really hard to find fascinating, innovative ways to make the game work that we wanted to. And even then it was tough. We could have for the most part we could only really have 3 enemies on screen at any one time, for performance reasons. Sometimes in we craft really simple little boxy rooms and close all the doors so nothing else had to draw, and then we could have 5 or 6 at a time in little scenarios. But we're always trying to find ways to maximize what the game could do with our kind of limited tool set. But
well, wait, that just speaks to game design. How look at Silent Hill, how they used fog to hide loading of the town's map and its screen, but it doubled as an effective way to scare the player. So if you're saying
just as well,
right, we're having 2 or 3 enemies on screen, we have to make these encounters really impactful and meaningful.
Yeah.
But us as players think, wow, these are fun moments and they're terrifying. But you're all right, we're limited. Here's how we can do it a proper way. Not to say, hey, we just can't squeeze more enemies than 2 or 3 at one time.
Yeah, that's right. No, and I'm pretty sure it's I think a lot of games have run into similar problems. But yeah, we had a unique set of challenges to overcome. But it was great. I remember first time we managed to pull it all together and get a full playthrough of the whole game, all the procedural generation stuff, all the narrative context, all the full game. And no one had ever played this whole game before. And from start to finish, and we got our first build, and it was start to finish, and it was oh my god, we got start to finish build. And so I thought, right, I'm going to give it a go. And I put my PSVR headset on, start to finish, first time I played it. And it took me maybe 5 or 6 hours in a play session, and without stopping. So I didn't take my headset off at all in this time. And what I hadn't kind of realized is I'd started playing at middle of the afternoon, so it was sunny, and I was in a studio full of people, and I finished the game and the credits rolled, and I was like, yes, it didn't crash and all that brilliant stuff. And I took my headset off like this, and it was dark, right? And there was no human beings around at all in anywhere. And it was honestly, it was like being the guy at the start of 28 Days Later.
Right.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I had to check myself,
Civilization just stopped.
Yeah.
when the headset came off.
And I was like, I've been in a horror game for 6 hours, and then it's where are all the humans? So
just
yeah,
life imitating art at that point. It's oh, I guess now I'm actually in the game. Am I a clone? What's happening? Now you mentioned VR, and horror and VR make for a very unique pairing, because I think among any VR experience, it is uniquely more effective when you pair horror and virtual reality.
Yeah.
Was it playing with or developing PlayStation World, did you say, this VR tech is pretty neat, this is how we want to deliver that horror game of ours you've been dreaming about for so long?
Yeah, I think we're benefits of good timing, because the tech came along, and we particularly in when we worked at PlayStation as well, we often worked on the new hardware and stuff. So we've always had a fascination with new kit, and so we got a little inside track to things. It was readily apparent that's as soon as we realized that was the case, that's where we wanted to make this game. And definitely trying to pitch the amount of horror and the amount of fear in there is different in a VR game compared to a flat screen game. Just because VR, it's a really interesting thing, right? Is as game makers, we always talk about trying to immerse the player, and we go to great lengths to immerse the player. And with VR was, it's pretty clear as soon as you pop your headset on, it's like the ping, you get transported into that world, and whether it's a magical, happy world of unicorns or a perhaps slightly darker, more foreboding world of mutants that are trying to kill you to death. You're just there straight away. So it's like, why wouldn't we do it? Why would this is perfect for what we need to do. So we just had some of the VR challenges. It was new, and one thing I was super keen on right from the start was like, this is a first-person game for people who enjoy first-person games. That's kind of like, again, it was something I've always wanted to make and to direct. So like, we weren't. I was really, really against like some of the other control schemes, like the teleport systems and stuff like that a lot of VR games have. Not that maybe better in some ways, but I was desperate to make a horror game to be played on a pad and to be able to play like games that I suppose I was used to, but I thought people would love to play by taking the classic, make a great horror game, make it play with controls that you're used to, but just in a different world with VR. So like, and it was also, I think the move controllers were challenging for first person games as well. A more modern controllers like the Oculus, for example. Obviously, then you got the sticks on there, and definitely loads of problems with motion sickness that come about with proper first person controls. But we spent a ton of time and effort to try and overcome that for most people, and I think it was pretty low. We did quite a bit of research getting people through with the different control schemes that we had, and we got up to just a few % of people feeling ill on our comfort settings. So but I'd say you're right. Like in VR was definitely the case. Even I remember because I'm a bit old, but like years ago in the arcades where I used to live, I used to have amusement arcades near where I used to live, and they had the old virtuality VR arcade machines back in the day, and there was a game where you had to land a Harrier aeroplane on like an aircraft carrier. That was the game. It must have cost about £4 for a game. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
But
that's a little insane. Well, now that I think about it. I'm doing the math in my head. Yeah, it's a little.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. I remember it being as much as the what was it? It was a Ridge Racer with a Mazda MX-5 with a wraparound screen. So one of them as well, which was £5.
You're just paying for the hardware at that point.
Yeah, right.
We got to make back our investment.
Cool. Yeah. But even so, even that was my first experience of VR, and even with the terrible frame rate and rubbish graphics at the time, it was you could see it offered something special. Even if you play Microsoft Flight Simulator in VR now, it's pretty amazing. So I think it was always the right platform for it. Yes, and like I say, it gives unique challenges and stuff we tried to fix. I'd say with some success, in a lot of that stuff with the controls. Not perfect for everybody. And I think as VR evolved, people were kind of more keen on the point in space hand controllers than perhaps I'd initially considered they might be. But yeah, that was the kind of the decisions we took early on, which took us down that path.
Right, because VR in itself, it can add, just by virtue of being in virtual reality, you're getting that extra level of immersion that you cannot get in a flat screen game.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you work backwards from that and take something that you built in a VR space, and that's for a horror experience, it's hinging on that level of immersion, and now you're taking it out of there for other consoles and Steam, and now it's a flat screen game? What were those challenges like for the team?
Yeah, they were not insignificant. I think it would be easy just to shovelware it, if for want of a better term, and
be done with it.
Yeah, and like each of the platforms had their own unique challenges as well. Like mostly were like, one of the things I was really keen on is to make sure that the controls came across well. We made a lots of concessions for the game being in VR. So head bomb on the camera at the simple case, like no acceleration when you move forward and backwards on the stick. That effective inertia and human weight that you try to put in normally into a first person game wasn't there, because that would make people feel sick. So like we spent a lot of time trying to figure that out for each platform, even to the degree of each joystick has a slightly different dead spot and sensitivity. So like we had different setups for each platform that we have, so that we can maximize the case, like looking at, even in VR, like aiming by using your head to look at targets was really very quick and accurate. So we had to, rework the targeting systems for the game. So it was a kind of really challenging and quite deep-rooted thing to do. The mainstay of the game obviously is still the same. The enemies and what have you all stay the same, and the story and the structures there. But even some of the core gameplay stuff. One of the things we had, like one of the tricks you could pull was you could teleport behind a character and rotate quickly, and get them with a stem cell harvester, and then like that was really uncomfortable.
That is so cool, by the way. That weapon, I love it so much.
Yeah, it was good. It came through lots of iterations. You see some of the concept art as well. We had one that was like where it was covered in like spikes, and that was kind of funny because it ended up with covered in blood and hair and stuff.
Yeah, that's what sold me. I was like, oh, this thing is just so fun to use. Like, I'm gonna sneak up and just boop.
There you go. Yeah, it was interesting. It was only partway through development as well that we felt the need to make it as a melee weapon as well. Initially, it was just stealth killing device. But then the gameplay got a bit clunky, where like if you fluff it, then the bad guy's onto you, and then you fumble into change and stuff. So like that was a core loop for like over a year, and it was really interesting because you could feel like it didn't flow right. It wasn't quite tight enough, it wasn't the being on the sticks wasn't as fun as it should be. So that's when we put in that's when we went and designed like a first person melee system.
Right.
And I think the game really found its feet at that time in the core gameplay, because we did a lot of time. I remember working with sound design guys saying, right, it needs to sound like an iron bar hitting a human skull, and it's got that thunk kind of sound to it as well as the fleshy stuff. So
how do you go about researching those kind of sound
well,
effects?
it's funny, right? I know like the some concept artists in game dev, particularly, I'm sure there's in movies as well, like their search history must be, like calls for concern.
Yeah, I'm sure you're all on some sort of list somewhere, as am I. It's just,
yeah. We had like even like one of this really cool like oils on some of the characters that glowed and stuff. So there's a lot of research into like photo research to like to horrible diseases that have affected humans and animals through the decades. So like yeah, and then making like mood boards of all this stuff, and it's just awful. Yeah, unbelievable things you see, even just like, how people fall over, or what happens, when people break their bones whilst running, and all sorts of really disgusting things you get to research. It's dead funny. We're always like laughing about, I can't believe I do this shit for a living. It's just ridiculous. But
like a bunch of crime scene photos on a wall. It's like, yeah, it's just homework. It's just, this is my job.
Yeah, different way blood flows depending on where a hole is made in a human being, all that sort of stuff. So but it was fun. That was kind of like the kind of crazy sick fun times of making a horror game as well, yeah, I mean, I've always been a big fan of the enemy design part of that process, and getting them done. Like even a guy that he's only got half a head, we need a character who couldn't see you, and I was like, what can we, is he wearing a blindfold, or has something slipped down? It's like, I know, just his head's not formed properly. So
did you find yourself watching a lot of like horror movies, or like just, I'm sure you've seen a bunch, like The Thing, for example, or just calling back to your favorites? What were some of the movies that really you use as influence points when designing these games, creatures, and those elements?
I think so. We did. That was definitely the case. So like there's one of the characters, the Bloodhound, who slowly follows you around. It's not quite like a Mr. X or whatever in the same. It's not as dramatic as some of the other characters in other games. But he was inspired by the movie It Follows.
Oh yeah. Great movie.
Yeah, just that scene where, like, was it at the college where like they just look across the campus grass, and that's just that woman's just walking slowly towards them, and it was just the thought of, it doesn't matter where I go, I don't, this thing will just keep following. So yeah, that was a really good one, because I hadn't seen the movie, and until we're into development, I didn't know about it. And as our character artist Steve, he said like, you should check out this movie. It's fucking cool. So like,
Yeah.
I was like,
The
okay, yeah.
the pool scene at the end is one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Just that dramatic fight scene. It's like there's like
Yeah.
a Scooby-Doo element to it, but it's more grounded. It's like the core group of friends fighting a monster. It's so well done and shot. It's beautiful. But continue.
Really. No, that's cool. No, it is. I mean, it's such a cool movie. And like, no, I guess there's the obvious ones, you know, like Alien, Event Horizon. You know, a lot of the sci-fi movies that we kind of grew up watching. I think that's fair to say as well. Books as well. Like I read the first Expanse novel or two early in development, and I remember there was that first scene in the first book where they board the ship, and all the crew had been munged together in one big kind of meat blob of person, and then so we use that as kind of like some of the inspiration for like just some of the material detail. You've got like bits of body that shouldn't quite be there and stuff, and so it comes from all sorts. You know, you have to just immerse yourself and throw yourself into it. You know, like Game of Event Horizon, I suppose, is up there as well. Some of them sort of hellish scenes in there.
Doesn't get enough love, I feel, Event Horizon. I feel like I watched it when I was a kid, and it scared the shit out of me. And then I was like, does this movie still hold up years later? And it still does, miraculously. It has its moments. It has a little bit of cheese factor in there.
On the guy for no apparent reason.
It has some disorienting shots, and you know it's not you're not seeing the full vision.
Yeah.
Because it was cut to shit in that movie. It was too gory, I think, the initial cut.
Yeah. And cinema
we lost so much of that to censors back in the day. But so I want to jump to why we're really here today. Is it seems like Persistence is sort of the game is fulfilling its own prophecy. It is now respawning in a sense. It's fresh clone coming out today as of this recording in the enhanced edition. So what is this? What made you guys think we need a next gen update for this game, and what does it bring to the table?
Sure. So like, I mean, what is it? The reason we did it really is because it felt like there was some cool technology on the next gen platforms that we could leverage to make the game a bit better. Without being too trite, I thought it'd be nice to give a free update to the people who've bought the game and love it and have upgraded as well. So yeah, that's kind of why we did it. I think part of it was like part of our side as well as our studio was like we wanted to like release something with all the next gen technology in it. So a lot of it was like we did our studio based research and development on it. It's like what cool ways can we use the RTX, which is expensive, which gets bang for buck, etc. So there was a bit of like game dev stuff in there for us to benefit from that. But really, it was a case of like we think we could make the game better, and I think that some of that new tech does. You'll see some of like particularly the ray trace reflections are really cool on some stuff, because part of the art style that Lee, our art director, set up was like big, highly reflective surfaces. And a lot of it, we use what's called a screen space reflection, so you only see the reflection of what's already on the screen. But sometimes that would mean like if there was an enemy off screen, but you see the thing he should reflect in, you wouldn't see it because he's not on the screen. So, but with the ray tracing, that allows that to happen. So sometimes, like when you sneak in, you'll see an enemy's reflection on a surface you wouldn't have seen in the regular game. So there are genuine like gameplay benefits to add in this cool tech to the existing game. It allowed us to like do a few things, make sure some of the assets were nicer and improve the materials and get some really even more sexy lighting in there for them platforms. So like it felt like a really good opportunity for us to to keep the game, to make it available for next gen as well, but also then for those people who've already ponied up the cash to buy the game. It's like, if you're on next gen, then or you've got a system that takes RTX, then you're going to get this one for free, and it'll update itself, and you'll be good to go.
It's amazing what lighting can do to a game like this. The game already looked beautiful as it was in its original state, But then when you watch comparison videos, I think you guys released a few on Twitter and YouTube, it almost looks like it was a beta, the release game.
Yeah.
And now it's like this fully realized, beautifully well lit horror game. It's like, this is what a next gen machine can do.
Yeah, and I think we're lucky in the sense of like, I mean, obviously we didn't design this like 5 years ago when we started thinking about it, but like the location and the style of the visuals in the persistence, with its like angular geometry, the moody lighting, the reliance on reflections and bloom is the sort of thing that the next gen graphics hardware are really good at. So I think some of our before and afters are like really quite spectacular. So I think I think we're fortunate in that sense. So I think it's a good showcase for what that tech can do, and like if you've got a next gen console or PC, if you're stumped up for the big graphics card, then it's worth checking out and getting the update, because it really does make a difference. And even just, it's not just the gameplay, it's the mood as well. Some of the way we've kind of softened some of the edges, and so the way the darkness creeps into the deep corners. Sometimes it's not, you could just detect that where the lighting wasn't quite perfect, and sometimes you could just separate you a tiny bit, whereas now it just goes into that dark recess and God knows what's in there. But you're going to be in there soon, so you're going to find out. So yeah, it really does enhance the experience, as well as looking amazing. So like it's 100% worth checking out if it's available to you.
And have you guys toyed with the DualSense haptics controller and the 3D audio for a game like this? It was like a perfect fit.
Yeah, particularly the controller. We already had positional audio from a system we wrote for VR, but the DualSense, I think, is a wondrous bit of kit. Generally, it's definitely the best controller I've ever used, and it's so good for guns. It's like, or even just like the feeling of hitting something is getting that feedback through the triggers. It's not just the adaptive resistance that you pull through, which I think is amazing, and the way machine guns, it just fires back on your finger, it really connects you to it. But then like the higher quality haptic based rumble that's in there, you can really get some lovely high pitched feel through it, depending on the scenario and game. So we spent a lot of time, we've gone through each individual weapon in the game, and redone completely all the adaptive and haptic feedback from DualShock 4. Is it DualShock 4? Yeah. I'm going to call him DualSense 4 there for a minute. For the controller. So like, yeah, it's good actually. I must say it definitely enhances your connection with the world around you, and you see that from the other games. I mean, Astro again is another good standout. Case in point, Returnal, amazing. And the persistence, for any luck, people will enjoy it.
Yeah, I really can't wait, because I feel like that controller is born and bred for an experience like this, because it just adds that immersion factor. And in a horror game, it's all about the immersion. And if you're getting yourself more involved in the game, if the controller can connect you more to the experience, it's going to be highly, highly effective. What's something about the persistence? Give us a fun development detail that no one really knows about, or is a little unspoken.
Let me think. So a fun development detail that was spoke of. Let me see. I still have the that's not really true. I still have the very first version of the disc that we printed, which is still on my desk, which I haven't seen I haven't been in the studio because of COVID in over a year. What I do know though is like I did notice someone had used it as a coffee coaster. So I've got this incredibly like personally valuable thing sat on my desk that someone thought, I'll just pop my cup of coffee on there. So that's one to be resolved. So yeah, I suppose that's definitely one thing. Yeah.
Before we jump off into rapid fire questions, I do have one thing I feel like I have to ask you, and I may not get an answer. Maybe some NDAs involved at some point, but I just got to see. Take a chance here.
If you wanted to say what? Sorry, you wanted to be an actor?
No. I don't want to be an actor. God no. PSVR 2. Have you seen it, felt it, looked at it, dealt
Really
with
haven't,
it?
and I'm not lying. Sadly, I've got yeah. It's I'm a VR nut, you know.
Mhm,
So I've got an Oculus. I've got an Oculus Quest literally on charge there from earlier. And
mhm,
my PSVR stays permanently plugged in, so I'm fully on board and can't wait.
mhm.
But that's literally not something I've seen or touched.
I
Sadly,
think you should
I would
leverage
if
your Stuart Liverpool, part of your
my
resume and be like, hey, we used
get
to
in
be
there.
you guys, and we get first
No,
crack at this.
it's a fair point. You know, I reckon in non-COVID times, perhaps I could go and barnstorm the buildings or something and see if I can get a few sneaky shots for Twitter. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure it'd be a killer bit of kit when it comes along.
Are you guys looking to expand more in this world, like in a sequel, or is just you gonna move on from this universe and
I
what's
think
next
like
for you guys really?
yeah, I think well, obviously from we're big fans of persistence, so like I think it's fair to say that like but the reason we've kept it going, we've enhanced and keep servicing it and put loads of free content in it. As we were going, we still patch it. If any, we get up, we get updated with all the bugs that happen out in the real world, and we keep patching it to make sure it's as good as it can be. So I think it's fair to say that like we really love it. It's like our baby, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fair to say that we're not quite ready to abandon it just yet with this
Mm-hmm.
particular release. So
Okay.
it's definitely a watch this space, but
Okay.
the
All
space
right.
should hopefully be fucking cool before too
Yeah.
long. That's
Oh
what
yeah. PSVR
I
2.
hope so.
It's gonna happen. I'm telling you right now. All right, Stu. It's time for rapid fire.
Dun, dun,
You
dun.
ready for this? It's gonna be
I'm
a lot
ready.
of
Come on,
fun. All
let's do
right.
it.
If you had a clone of yourself,
Yeah.
what would you do all day long?
Oh, rapid fire. What would I do? I'd find out whether I'm good company. I guess that would be the case. And then I might get evil robot Stewie to go to
Mm-hmm.
work um,
Mm-hmm.
every day, and then just maybe just play video games and drink beer and watch Marvel movies in the
Mm-hmm.
other room, knowing that my evil clone was covering and earning the bread for me. I think this is what I'll end up doing.
You gotta have a good balance, though. I feel like you can't have your clone do all of the work,
I think
otherwise
maybe
they may it's an uprising and turn on you, and then they'll replace you in real life.
yeah, maybe I'll have to get like a neck collar fitted or that. I look bad on Zoom calls if they know which one it is. Maybe I'll take over like the work duties on a Wednesday. We'll
Mm-hmm.
do some big exec updates to people, let everyone know everything's cool,
Mm-hmm.
and then get the clone back working. So
Mm-hmm.
all right, that's my promise. I'll work Wednesdays and my
Got it.
clone can cover the other days.
There
Yeah.
you go. That's a good balance.
Yeah.
A good
And if he's
compromise.
exactly the same as me, maybe like we might end up in like the world's longest game of tennis.
Sure.
Where like we're never gonna even, it could well be this like with Street Fighter, we could just be
So
there
no one's
forever.
working is what's happening.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, what's gonna happen
tennis.
is me and my clone are gonna play Street Fighter and we're gonna forget to put a timer on, and that's it, and that we'll both die of starvation in the first round. So it sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah. Speaking of terrible things, what is something that you're terrible at, but you wish you could do better?
I'd say it's drawing. It's always been drawing. Like one of the things
Drawing, okay.
like in game design and like character design and story design they do is like picture paints 1,000 words. Sometimes my pictures paint 1,000 words of like, this guy can't fucking draw, and it would not only it's entirely frustrating to not be able to do it effectively, even though like do a bit of research and a bit of an understanding of anatomy and stuff, and they never quite look right.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's professionally, that's what I'd like to be able to do.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing is this is totally weird and sidetrack is like,
no, do it.
To involve accurate throwing of things, like darts in the UK is a good one, and
aim?
like
You're saying aim?
aiming things. So like it's so easy to see it. You can visualize it, and then you do it, and it doesn't quite go where you need it to, and god damn it pisses me off.
I feel like it's a lot like drawing. It's in here. You can visualize what exactly it is you want to do, and then
maybe if I modify my clone with a few improvements in key areas, then it might be fully replaced. That might be me wearing the shot collar before you know it. But yeah.
So Persistence Enhanced comes out. It sells a bajillion copies. you're out celebrating, picking out yachts with your team, and you've had
Yeah.
too much, and you've had way too much to drink. What word best describes you when you're drunk?
Oh, I would say happy. I've been told quite a few times that I'm a happy drunk, you know, like a cheery guy. I'm also been told like my eyes go like chameleon's eyes, in the sense that they can point in different directions, and that's usually know that's the time they need to put me in a taxi.
Oh boy, I kind of want to see that at some point in my life.
Yeah, but generally, yeah, happy drunk, party,
Happy drunk,
dance on tables, have a great time, you know, all that. Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
What is the dumbest way you've ever injured yourself?
There's a few. I know when I was a kid, I don't know if you have like in the playgrounds in the US. So in the UK, we have like these things called roundabouts. You get on, they spin around. And when I was a kid, I crawled under there and hid, and a load of other kids played on it, and I broke my leg. So that was pretty bad. Oh no, I tell you, no, the best one. This is the best one. When I was a kid, I'd broken second time. I'd broken my leg in a bike accident, and
the same leg.
Yeah, same leg, and I had one of these big plasters from your ankle all the way up to your hip. You know, back in the day, they put the plaster of Paris on. It was really heavy.
Right, yeah.
And it's actually a kind of embarrassing story because I ended up injuring myself. But like, I was off school. I was kind of bored, and like I like food, and I mean, mum had come home. I would have been about 8 or something like that, with this big shoe bun thing, a big shoe pastry full of cream and like chocolate and toffee sauce on the top. And I was like, oh my god, this is like the best thing ever. And she said, you can't eat this until you wash your hands. You know what parents are like. You got to do that. So like on my crutches, I went into the bathroom so quick, and I misjudged it, and I hit my plaster on the side of the wall, which split the plaster.
Oh my god.
Really up my leg, and basically she had to take me to hospital to get it fixed up again, and I didn't get my shoe bun for like about 6 hours. So basically I ended up hospitalized by running for food. So that's about
yeah, I feel like that would be me at some point, you know. I can't, don't come between me and food. I feel like I will gladly lose any number of limbs to get to like a decent like sandwich.
Yeah. Is right. So yeah, that's right up there with dumb ways to injure yourself. All right. Badge of honor as well.
Yes. Your spouse gets a phone call in the middle of the night saying you've just been arrested. What have you been arrested for?
Middle of the night. What would it be? I don't know. It would definitely be something to do with doing something stupid after drinking too much. I would say if it's the middle of the night, that would be it. I don't think arrested. No, I don't know. If it was maybe during the day, it could be like.
Oh, we'll say during the day or any time of the day. If there's a phone call, she's home, phone rings, Stu's been arrested. What are the reasons why? What have you done, Stu?
Yeah, I reckon honestly that most likely it might be like driving. Like I kind of like cars, and so I'm older actually. When I was a kid, one of my dream job before getting into video games, I wanted to be a motorcycle racer. So I've always had this thing for driving a bit too fast. But yeah.
All right, so you've stolen a motorcycle and gone for a joyride. That's what has happened. Right.
Yeah.
The keys were just sitting there. You're like, you know what? Fuck it.
They didn't need it. Well, why would they leave them there? They don't need that bike. Look at it. The sun's shining.
It was left for you. Yeah. Obviously.
I can use it to race to a bakery, right, as fast as possible to get more pastry.
If you had a magical van that could teleport you to anywhere in time, would you rather go to the past or to the future?
A magical van. I like that. That's like really specific. It's not like just a time machine.
It plays on the driving element that you like so much, so you get more enjoyment out of that.
It would definitely be the future, but like it would be like really far future. There was a bit in is it a time machine where he fast forwarded to like the very end of the planet, and he sat on the beach and watched the final sunset or whatever it was with the little creatures on the beach. So like it'd be really fascinating to fast forward to see how it all comes about or how humanity ends. That would maybe it's a bit dark that for someone who says he's like a happy drunk. I want to see how all And so but I think I'm more of like the past is interesting and stuff, but yeah, I'm it's the future wins. The future.
Yeah,
100%.
It's that unknown aspect.
I might just go forward in the future and just see how good the phone signals are and how much data you can get in your phone.
Right. There you go.
Go back and bring it all back, right? So
would you rather invent something new or discover something new?
That's a good one, I reckon discovering something new. Because it's just been there the whole time.
Right. And you found it.
Yeah. As long as maybe something that allows you to be a bit smart about it, like you figured something out that allows you to discover it rather than you just tripped over, it's just in your garden the whole time or whatever. But yeah, discovering something would be cool. I reckon. Yeah.
What was the last horror game that really scared you?
Resi 7 in VR.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I shit so bad.
Oh boy. You would think after 6 it had lost any measure of scare factor whatsoever.
Yeah.
It just came right back into it.
Yeah, and they had the cool controls that I like as well with it. And honestly, like that'd be right. That was the last one that scared me. There was one. It was an early PSVR game. I remember shouting at my cat because it made a noise in the room, and I jumped out my skin. So yeah, I think but I was Resi 7. Definitely Resi 7 is the one. I think PT was. That was not VR. I think the PT demo.
PT was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I went back and ran through it again recently, actually, and it's super good.
PT has spawned like a whole subgenre of horror games based on what was just a teaser of a nothing. Amazing. It wasn't even a full game. It was just a concept.
Yeah.
And that was just so much of it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you tried? Yeah. Have you tried Resident Evil 8 yet? The Village?
No, not yet. I've got it downloaded. It's just one of them. So it's sat there. I played the demos obviously when they came down. So I'm looking forward to it. To be honest, it's just I want to clear run at it. So yeah, I want to do it in fewer sittings as possible to really love it. So yeah.
All right. One final question here.
Come on, I'm ready.
And we'll get going. If you could have one superpower, what would that power be?
Well, I'm not sure about this. I think my daughter, she loves Marvel movies, so she's 12, and she's always wanted superpowers. She's been on a Christmas list every year, superpowers. And to be honest, I would have Elsa-style ice powers because A, it's kind of cool, and B, she would be gutted that I get to have the ice powers and she doesn't.
So you're doing it just to spite your daughter, is what I'm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving up flight for that as well.
I'm getting like super villain vibes from you right now.
I could be sat here stroking a cat like Blofeld. You could be boring answers like invisible or flying, right? But why not? Yeah, Elsa-style ice powers to upset my daughter is the ultimate superpower.
I just thought of one last thing I didn't want to ask you, being that you're in the industry and you know games. It's like E3 is upon us. What's exciting you the most? What do you want to see from anyone? Like Microsoft or PlayStation or Square or Sega? What are your eyes on the most right now?
I think for me, yes, it's plenty. I mean, I'm jealous that they're not big shows you can go to at the minute, because obviously that's one of the big perks of being in game dev. Really, what I'm really interested about the exclusives on different platforms. I love the Horizon Forbidden West gameplay the other night on State of Play was brilliant. I'm fascinated to see. Yeah, honestly, ridiculous looking game, incredible. But I'm really interested to see what Microsoft maybe come up with as well. Like obviously they've done quite a lot of studios, so they'll be beavering away on some big stuff. So like it's like a console guy more than a PC guy, I think it's fair to say. So like just to see what the big guns are that get wheeled out. I would say that's what I'll be
so the Nintendos, the big three, Microsoft, Sony, what are they going to roll out this year?
And like I've already got my Skyward Sword pre-ordered for Switch, so like
oh my god, you're part of the problem, Stu.
I can't help it. I didn't play it on Wii, so like
paying $60 for a port.
I know, right? Well, yeah, that's true. But
Oh, I
yeah,
still love you though. All right,
I know.
it's
It's
all
crazy.
forgiven.
I can't.
You made a great game, so I'll forgive you.
Thank you, mate. It's like, well, part of it. So I could also argue that, like, because my kids, part of their gaming education
Mhm.
is they love all that Zelda stuff. They're literally
Right,
playing it at the minute. So like, I've got a technical way out.
right.
Maybe,
Did you
maybe.
did you also buy that Mario 3D collection that was half-assed as well?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, of course you did.
And I bought Wind Waker HD as well. That's yeah.
I see
So
that I'm more forgiving, a little bit more forgiving for that because that is a great. I think that's a great Zelda game. Skyward Sword, I'm a little
yeah.
bit about. It's a
I
little.
never played it, so like, it's one of
All
those
right, I
little.
see it. Okay, it's a little bit better for you then.
Thank you.
A little bit
Yeah, I
better.
feel bad now. I've said it. It's like,
No. It's all good. Um, Finally, this is your chance to plug the game. When's it coming out? Where's it going to be? All the social media, Twitter handles, Instagram. Give us all that
yeah.
stuff right now.
Yeah, so like, obviously the game's out today. Fortunately coincided with this party. I mean, you can get it on you can get it on across the board on all platforms now, which is really great. And I think it's worth having a look at this game if you like sci-fi games, you like horror games, and you like games that have worked really hard on creating a really tight core combat loop with well thought out cool upgrades. And lots of weapons to play with, and terrifying enemies. I think it's fair to say the game's pretty scary, but not like completely scary that you'll nope out of it. So it's definitely worth having a look at in that sense. So it's something that I know, not just myself, but a lot of the boys and girls have made the game put a lot of themselves into, and it's definitely a game that's been crafted with love. More so than any other game I've worked on, I think. So if you're interested, check it out. Check out the Firesprite. You just Google us, look us up on Twitter. Our Firesprite account carries all the information you need there. Facebook, Instagram as well. Yeah, and it'd be good if you ever look at it. Grab a copy of the game, play it, give us some feedback, get the notes in, because we read all the stuff that comes back to us. And like I say, we keep servicing the game. So like, if there's stuff in there, if it's at all possible, we can improve the game based on you guys playing it, and then we absolutely will. So yeah, and I would be eternally grateful. And if you do buy the game, perhaps I won't take ice powers and make my daughter cry. How's that?
Oh, but wait, I kind of want to see her cry. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something about children crying makes me a little bit happy. Is that cruel? Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I think technically that's cool.
I don't know. It's like when you watch a TikTok of a child getting injured, you can't help but laugh because.
Yeah, it's one of them, right?
All right, that's gonna do it for this week, listeners. Thank you, Stu. You were incredible. The game is amazing. It is out today. Persistence enhanced.
Thanks.
Get it, or we'll come over and use our freezing powers to do horrible things to you. Thank you, listeners, for watching and listening. And as always, please be excellent to each other.